My favorite Bible verse is Ephesians 2:10, that we could say for good works created beforehand, that we should walk in them. So I've had this feeling since I was saved, like, okay, I'm a follower of Jesus, I'm supposed to do something now. There's something that God wants me to do. And I prayed about it for direction. I remember really 6 months praying. The Lord gave me a very clear vision for them to build this IT department, to get this database figured out.
Welcome to the Ministry at Scale podcast. I'm your host, Chad Williams. Join us as we discuss trends, learn from experts, and share practical tips about how to help your ministry multiply its digital impact. This podcast is being sponsored by 5Q and our new Launch AI service. Your ministry is already feeling the pressure. Everyone's talking about AI, your team's experimenting with tools, but nothing is connecting to real, measurable impact. Well, Launch AI changes that. It's a dedicated leadership team for your ministry built on human-first, AI-empowered framework. So every decision honors your values, earns your board's trust, and actually moves the mission forward. In just 90 days, Launch AI will establish AI governance, select and configure the right tools for your team, create and test several use cases, and train your staff for immediate productivity gains. Stop experimenting, start multiplying. Find out more at 5q.com/launch. That's FIVEQ.com/launch. Today, I'm excited to have Toby Weiss, co-founder and CEO with Rooted Software, joining us. Toby and I actually go back 10 years when Toby was serving with Jews for Jesus, and we at 5Q, we did some projects for them. After that, you started Rooted, and then we've collaborated periodically, and both at a professional level, but also as praying for each other as fellow CEOs. So I really do count it a privilege to consider Toby not just a fellow co-laborer in this space, but also a friend. So Toby, welcome to the Ministry at Scale podcast.
Thank you, Chad. So such a pleasure to be here today.
So first, Toby, I think the people can sense a little bit of an accent. So share a little bit about where you're from, and I know you're with Jews for Jesus, and then where you're at today.
100%. Yes, I do have an English accent. I have been in California for 20 years, but I still have milk in my tea. I have not lost my accent. It was love that moved me to San Francisco. I met my sweetheart through Jews for Jesus. She was doing an internship in London, met in 2003. I moved here in 2006 after a 3.5 year Skype relationship.
Skype, I remember those days.
Those were the days. At the beginning, when you had to call in advance to plug in the webcam, and I'll call you in 5 minutes, kind of thing.
That's right.
And yeah, then I worked at Jews for Jesus in San Francisco, 14 years. It was a wonderful job. I loved working there, and then started Rooted about 2021.
That's great. That's a great journey. So you know what it's like to be sitting on both sides of the table, both as I think your last role with Jews for Jesus was your Global CIO, and then now on the other side of the table, serving many ministries in lots of different software capacities. When you were at Jews for Jesus, what did that season teach you about the unique technology challenges that a ministry faces?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I learned so much, and I learned it by doing it, and doing it again, and doing it again, and doing it again. So I started with one other person in the IT department. So all areas that we serve, so at Rooted, really, I would say I learned there. One would be IT. I had to take care of the computers, I had to take care of staff, missionaries in many different countries, Macs, PCs, Google, Microsoft. And just learning the kind of needs they have, how to support people on the field and in the office, learning all the business processes of ministries and nonprofits. Secondly, the CRM, and that was really my big project in the years I was there, was getting all of their countries all around the world, and I think 11 or 12 countries, into one centralized global CRM. Each country was originally on a separate database, so separate migrations, traveling to Australia and South Africa and Israel and Hungary to slowly get all those countries in one. Took a long time, but that was a thing that I was very thankful to the Lord for. Honestly, I remember at the beginning walking down the street, seeing this problem in front of me, thinking how could that ever happen? And the answer is 12 years, but the Lord is faithful, and it's been good to see that. Um, and then even app development, I got a degree in master's in computer science in the UK, and I was a developer before moving to the US. And so learning how to put the skills of software development into practice for ministry, whether that's web
Hmm.
development, online donation systems, e-commerce, or even an app that we've developed to help their missionaries track evangelism. I learned a lot there. It was a and maybe more important than all of that was the people, the way that people work in the ministry, the heart that they had to honor and serve Jesus. And then for me to learn, honestly, through some mistakes, but then also some good times, how to
Hmm.
build a team, a really good team. That was the thing that gave me the most joy at the end. If I think back on those 14 years, it wasn't the CRM or the apps. It was
Mm.
the people that I got to work with in the organization, and most of all in the IT team that I was able to lead there. So I'm very, very thankful for that time.
Yeah, that's you mentioned a CRM rollout that covered multiple countries, multiple offices, probably hundreds of missionaries. Let me just at a high level, like was the biggest challenge technology related, or was the biggest challenge people related, or process related, or like what was the biggest challenge that you had to overcome in rolling out an enterprise level rollout like that?
Definitely, it was people and process. Technology, we could figure out what we needed to do in 6 months, and we did. We made
Yeah.
it. We made a decision, the best decision at the time. But to
Hmm.
get all the countries with all their languages, all their compliance rules, GDPR rolled out sometime in the middle of that
Hmm.
process, to figure out all that different stuff, and then to train each country and each culture how to use that system. That was the challenge. And yeah, for people who were working independently, I
Mm.
remember telling the South African chairman of the board they were using FileMaker at the time, and he was like, "Why? We could do whatever we want in FileMaker. We love it. Why would we use this enterprise CRM?" And I was like, I remember my answer. It's like you are in a cottage. It's a very nice cottage. It's a very comfortable cottage. You've been in it a long time. You can do anything that
Hmm.
you want. We are offering you a well-defined apartment block. We are offering you a
Hmm.
luxury apartment in our apartment block. We will manage it for you. We'll take care of it for you. It is not. It is very far from your cottage. It might feel a little less comfortable at first, but we're excited for you to make it your home. And then I had to put my money where my mouth was. I went there twice. I spent time with him and his family and the team there,
Hmm.
and helped, personally walking them through. This is how it was. This is how it will be. The change management, the training. That
Hmm.
was the hard work. Data migration. Well, I mean, it was hard work for my developers.
Hmm.
But yeah, the people change and process change were the things that really made me slow down and take the 12 years, I would say.
Yeah, and I mean that is a great analogy that you're able to use, and I'm sure as you dealt with people, that you probably developed a lot of those different types of analogies just to help them understand the benefits of moving in this direction. Yeah.
Mm.
So then you
Yes.
started Rooted Software in 2021. What was the moment that you said this is what we're supposed to build? Like, what made you move from Jews for Jesus ministry, having impact around the world, to start Rooted?
I would say even further back, all the way back to the day I was saved. I was saved on December 24th, 2000. And immediately, so my favorite Bible verse is Ephesians 2:10, that we've been saved for good works created
Mm.
beforehand, that we should walk in them. We're not saved by good works, we're saved for good works. So I've
Hmm.
had this feeling since I was saved, like, okay, I'm a follower of Jesus. I'm supposed to do something now. There's
Hmm.
something that God wants me to do. And it took me a little while to figure it out. And, it was 6 years after that day that I started to work at Jews for Jesus. And I and
Mm.
I believed, okay, I've been in computer science degree for a bunch of time. I've been a developer, and I'm going to use all those skills and experience that the Lord has given me to serve at Jews for Jesus. And I prayed about it for direction. I remember really 6 months praying with my fiance at the time, and the Lord gave me a very clear vision for them to build this IT department, to get this database
Hmm.
figured out. And I did it. And then 12 years later, I'm still at Jews for Jesus, and I done praise the Lord. Like he had answered all of my prayers. Like I had
Mm.
an IT department, I'd accomplished that, and so I went back to him. I went back to Jesus, and I said, Lord, I
Mm.
belong to you. I am yours. My skill and experience is yours. I am nothing apart from what you've made me, Lord. I belong to you. And my conviction hadn't changed.
Mm,
Every piece of experience, every skill, everything I've learned over the years by making mistakes and doing some things right, I want to employ all of that for his glory and for his service. And I came to the conclusion after prayer and discussion that the best way I could do that at that time was to leave Jews for Jesus and to ultimately start a business so that I could serve many ministries
mm,
with the skills and experience that I have. And not just me. I mean, the reason I've been able to do what I've been able to do is because of an amazing team of people around me. And so my desire was to build that again outside so that I could serve many ministries. And so, again, I have nothing but love for Jews for Jesus. I learned so much there, but I just wanted to be able to be used more effectively by the Lord.
mm.
And so that was the motivation. And it took me some more years after that before it became a reality.
I mean, if anybody is listening to this podcast and like what you just shared, Toby, really was just a very practical way of making decisions, saying, Lord, I'm yours. Lord, whatever it is that you want me to do, I want to do. And coming to him in prayer. And I'm sure that involved, especially after you're married, some conversations with your wife and
Mm,
seeking the Lord together. And then taking the faith of stepping out and taking that next step. So yeah, that's it's so
yeah,
important that we're staying close to our relationship with Jesus when we're navigating both big and small life questions. That's good.
definitely. The whole of life is a breeze. And I think it doesn't matter what people do. I mean, there's lots of parts of the body, but
Yeah,
we have gifts, we have skills, we have experience, and whatever we do, whether we're a teacher or a butcher or a baker, a candlestick maker or a business owner, we need to use all of our skills to serve him and to bless his people,
yeah.
and other people too, with
Hmm.
what he's given us to do, to bring him glory in everything we do. So that's really my motivation. I could not be happy to just have a job, just to have a job. It's not bad to have a job just to pay
Yeah,
the bills, absolutely. But I've
yeah,
always wanted to use everything I have, not just for that, but to really serve him with everything I have.
yeah. I really resonate with that. So you could have built a general IT firm serving anyone. I
Mhm.
think you already answered this a little bit, but why did you have choose to have a deliberate focus on ministries and nonprofits? Like, was that a business decision, a calling, or both?
Both. And I will say, I'm 50-50 owner of Rooted with my business partner, Josh, who previously worked with me at Jews for Jesus, building that app
Hmm.
for missionary evangelism. And we decided to start Rooted together. And from the very beginning, even in 2021, when we started Rooted, our mission statement, we exist to help followers of Jesus leverage technology effectively,
Mm,
was a part of who we are, and also a reason why we named the company Rooted software, rooted and grounded in love from Ephesians.
hmm.
So that is who we are. That is why we do what we do. Now, if someone comes to me who's not a follower of Jesus and they would like to work with Rooted, 100%. Like I'm happy to work with anyone that comes to me. But the primary calling I would say of Rooted Software is to help ministries, churches, faith-based nonprofits to be effective in what they do. Because I would like missionary sending organizations, rescue missions, Christian
Hmm.
schools. They should focus on their ministry. They should focus on what the Lord's calling them. Technology is a tool, not an end in itself. And so we are
Hmm.
here to just simply help them wield that tool better, whether it's apps or systems or just day-to-day IT. So really, I would say it is both a calling for sure and a business decision. And I also think that the customers we serve are well served, who are I would say 85% of them probably are followers of Jesus in that sense. Maybe the rest
Hmm.
are other organizations who are also happy to work with. And I think also the staff Rooted
Mm,
enjoy using their skills in that way. So yeah.
that's good. So you started in 2001. You've already served over 100 organizations. Like, what are
Mhm.
some of the most common technology mistakes that you see ministries
Sure.
making over the years?
Yeah, and I think it's probably a couple hundred. And I would say ministries start small and they are not focusing on the technology, they're focusing on the ministry. And so
Hmm.
technology is just we need a volunteer system. Okay, Excel. We need an online donation system. Oh, this quick one I found over here. We need a CRM. Okay, well, there's one. Um, and there's a patchwork of decisions that happen over a period of time that doesn't mean that they're necessarily making a mistake. They're solving a particular problem at a particular
Hmm.
time. And then after 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, what you have is, the one word I would use to describe that is hodgepodge. You get a hodgepodge of random things, which may or may not work together. And at some point, as you grow, as you mature, you need to step back. And that would apply to CRMs and systems. That would apply
Hmm.
as well to IT decisions, your email system, your file system, your computers. Probably when they start, they go to Staples, they go to Best Buy, they go to Costco, and they buy whatever computer. And at some point in their maturity, they're like, maybe we need to standardize our IT. Um, or in apps, you might have a PHP app here and a .NET app there. So helping ministries mature needs to, at some point in their growth, mean, okay, we need to be strategic in our technology decisions. We do need to think about security. We do need to think about consistency. We do need to think about updates. We need to think about, are we hiring staff to take care of this stuff? Are we going to outsource it? What's the cost benefit analysis there? And so it takes a little maturity. It takes an organization being, usually over 1 million, maybe even two in revenue to kind of have the time and space to think that way. But yeah, just helping a ministry come from young and hodgepodge to a little bit more mature and well organized and strategic in their technology decision making process. And then there's other ministries we talk to which have been around a while. Jews for Jesus, when I was working there, they'd been around since 1973, so they'd
Hmm.
been around a while, but maybe they hadn't had the leadership or the opportunity or the finances to
Hmm.
to make the strategic decisions with technology, and then it's just helping them to do that when the time is right.
Yeah, that's good. So you've talked about a couple different types of organizations. One, the ones that are growing, and others that are already established. So like what is the type of kind of organization that's a best fit for Rooted? What does that client look like? And what do they need most from you?
Yeah, I mean, I should probably start by saying what we do, because that does affect the answer to the question a little bit. So there's three types of services we offer at Rooted. One of them is IT, like we will be your outsourced IT. We will take care of up to 100% of all of your IT, your Wi-Fi, your computers, your printers, your computer, your cloud, your backup, your cybersecurity, your security awareness training, AI training, everything to do with just IT. Um, Second area, CRM systems, from selection of those systems, your online donations, your accounting, your email, your CRM, selection, implementation, and long-term support of those systems. And then the third area would be app development, integrations, websites. So that said, to answer your first question, what sizes of organizations, I will answer for each of those areas, but separately. In the IT area, I would say there is no minimum size at all. We have
Mm.
customers with one staff. We have customers with well over 100 staff. So it's more, for me, in the IT area, it's more about the number of staff that you have. If you have 200, let's say, 300, 500 staff, there is a size where you're probably going to have an internal IT person, and that makes sense. But if you are certainly, I would say, less than 150 staff, and potentially larger, you can actually have a lot less expense and a lot more knowledge if you do outsource your IT to a trusted
Mm.
partner like Rooted. Because we have technicians from level 1 to level 4, very experienced, trained in networking, security, AI, and server management, virtualization, all
Hmm.
of that. And so you don't have to retain that talent. I take care of that. We come in and help you, unlimited support per user per month, no clock running, and a lot cheaper than hiring people. So I was
Hmm.
speaking to a company yesterday. I gave them my best package. They're a missionary sending organization in Denver, and I said, right now they have an internal IT person and another IT company. And I'm like, well, if you move all your IT to me, it would decrease their cost by 50%. They
Mm.
wouldn't
Wow.
necessarily need to keep an internal IT person, and they would actually have an increased level of service than they had before, and more availability, and
Mm.
they would just run the corner from us as well. So that's the range for IT. Really a large range. We have customers like Colorado Springs Rescue Mission. They're a pretty large organization, over 100 staff with a complex infrastructure. We have a full-time guy in the office every day. And then, we have people ranging in various sizes, or multiple locations. California, Colorado, we have staff located, but we have customers in Pennsylvania and Florida and Kansas, so really spread out. And we do have staff working from 8 a.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Pacific, so all across the US. In the CRM land, let me put it this way. If you're less than a $2 million revenue organization in when it comes to systems, you're probably not going to pay me to help you a lot. What you're going to do is come to me and I'm going to give you free advice. I'm going to ask you some questions about your CRMs, and I'm going to say, okay, based on your size, I recommend one of these 3 or 4 or 5 systems, like a Bloomerang or a Donor Doc or a Neon one, but something that's
Hmm.
appropriate to their size, and then the same for other things. If you are a over, certainly over 1 million, definitely over 2 million organization, then I'm going to have a longer conversation with you. And
Mm.
so there's redirection I can give, free advice from my experience. Do you want a more customizable system? Do you want a ministry specific system? Do you want more of a platform one-stop shop? Or do you want a best of breed situation? I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to point them in a direction. I will do a free consultation if that's all they need, or we do a whole paid assessment, 3 month assessment. Sit down, tell me all your requirements, tell me your pain points, tell
Hmm.
me your hopes and dreams. Based on all of that, here's 3 paths forward. Here's the one we recommend. Here's how we can help make it happen. So we can do all of that for larger organizations. Yeah, and we've worked with organizations all the way from 2 million to closer to 100 million, honestly. So, um, and then for apps, I would say probably, we've worked with organizations of all sizes. Probably smallest would be, I don't know, even a startup. Honestly, we've worked with some quite small organizations with just a handful of staff. Um, we have a lot of fun stories I could share about apps. We're working with Operation Mobilization right now.
Mm.
Arizona Private Education Scholarship Fund is a really fun one where we got to build basically a whole CRM for them from scratch for their very unique use case. And so, yeah, some really, really fun organizations. It really is just a matter of, do you need a custom app built for you? And
Mm.
then we can help with that.
Hmm. Hmm. No, that's good. The, with the work that you're doing on the IT services side, because a lot of times people think they can do it themselves or they hodgepodge things together. Like, when should a ministry consider outsourcing their IT versus doing it internally?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, a lot of the different pieces of the puzzle. One of the pieces of the puzzle, just budget wise, like I mentioned
Mm.
before, like if you are less than 100 staff, and likely, even less than 200 staff, you will save money if you outsource your IT. It will be more cost
Hmm.
effective. And if you have one person or two people on your staff and they are responsible for everything, then you have potentially a single point of failure. But you also have a limited skill set. Obviously, I would say I can bring a set of skills to the table with a whole team of people who are trained in different areas than you could have with one or two people. So if you're looking
Hmm.
for maybe a wider breadth of skill, expert in the Microsoft 365 platform, the Google Workspace platform, security training, compliance as a service, network and virtualization management, all of that, and day to day, the skill it takes to help your missionary with their Word mail merge or the MailChimp or just day to day usage. Um, both the people skills and the technology skills with the availability without the single point of failure and at lower cost. That's the benefit. Um, and so my honest recommendation is that I would encourage every organization to at least consider the benefits and the pros and cons there. Um,
Hmm.
and that doesn't necessarily mean laying off a good, faithful person, but it might mean
Hmm.
reassigning them to other areas that they could serve, which
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that people side, especially for ministries, can be hard for them to to think about having to lay somebody off to be able to do something. But I think to your point, if you can if they can be reallocated towards something that is actually doing real ministry, then that's a win for the organization and a win for the person.
100%. Yeah.
I know you've also completed, well over 100 data migrations, and that doesn't sound like that sounds kind of unglamorous, but I suspect a lot of ministries have a lot riding on that. And so, how would you encourage a ministry to think about CRM specifically as it relates to integrations and tying things together? Like, how do you walk them through? Do we need a all-in-one system or a best-in-class system? Like maybe they don't have an opinion on that. How would you help them make that decision?
Yeah. So I'm gonna make assumptions before I answer your question. I'm going to assume that they're over $2 million in revenue, so they're willing to spend a little bit of money on a good system. And I'm going to talk particularly to maybe the faith-based sector here. Um, so, and I'm going to assume some of the people listening to this may be using an older system, and just be looking for something newer. So a few variables then to answer the question with those assumptions. One variable is, would you like to work with, the vendor that you choose to work with?
Mm,
There are vendors who are, they're first and foremost, and I will try very hard not to name names now. There are vendors whose first and foremost purpose is actually the for-profit sector. Like they're in it to make money in the for-profit sector, and the non-profit sector is kind of an afterthought.
mm,
Um, but they may have good products, but you may not be their primary purpose or mission statement.
hmm
There are other vendors out there who 100% only work with nonprofits, and they are more specific and more niche. They specifically built for nonprofits. There's a bunch of good systems in that space for those 2 million plus revenue people. Um, and then there's some vendors out there who, even more specifically, they only work with missional
mm,
organizations, Christian missional organizations, and they have built software in such a way that it is really built. For example, the missionary sending organization, you've
hmm
got to have a website with the giving, you've got to have a CRM, you've got to have some kind of like a missionary reporting tool where the missionary logs in and then they can see their
hmm
fundraising goals. And when you get to that level of detail, there's a smaller subset of systems. Um,
hmm
so that's one kind of like variable is the kind of organization you want to work with, one that's totally out there for everyone or one that's really specific. Another variable in the equation is how customizable should that system be. There are systems which it's a box of Legos. You can do anything you want. And when you choose that kind of a customizable system, there is a longer implementation time frame in the 5 to 8 month window. Um,
hmm
and then, but you can do anything. And the good news about that kind of system is it can work exactly the way you work. Instead of having to squeeze yourself
mm,
into the mold of the system, it's going to be built for you. On the other hand, there's other organizations I speak to that say, actually, I just want something that works right now. And I want a best of breed tool. For example, maybe if your focus is donor advancement, that has to be done,
hmm
and you just want a system that just works right now, and I can just use it, and I don't need it to work for me perfectly. I don't want to customize it. I just want a great system to use it right now. I want to be live in 3 to 6 months here. Um, then I would recommend more of an off-the-shelf system, a best-of-breed situation. Um, so I will mention two products in a positive light. Number one, best of breed off the shelf system, amazing for donor advancement. I would probably recommend Virtuous. It's a wonderful CRM. It's a
hmm
wonderful off the shelf CRM. It is built for nonprofits in general. They have a lot of faith-based customers, but not only faith-based customers. And they have a suite of products. They have a fundraising product called Virtuous Raise, and they have momentum for analysis and stuff like that. So, on the other hand, if you said to me, no, I kind of do want to go that custom route, and I really am interested in that, like totally focused on Christian organizations opportunity, I'd maybe point them in the direction of Site Stacker, which is more of a platform with a content management system and a CRM and automations and the missionary reporting all built into one. Which, for example, in Virtuous, it would be amazing off the shelf for advancement. It would not have missionary reporting out of the box. You'd have to build that in or
hmm
have an add-on later, like a donor elf, for example. Another one would be if you want something different, maybe you want something from one of the larger vendors, like also in a positive way. We do a lot of Microsoft Dynamics and Microsoft
mm,
Power Platform work. And so we have other customers who either in one scenario, they use Power Platform for everything because they want a lot of control over it. In another scenario, maybe they do use a Virtuous plus a Power Platform app. So maybe Virtuous takes care of some things that they wanted to just work, but there's something else like media management which didn't quite fit, and they want to go with something like a Power app to make that
hmm
work and then hook them up together with an integration. So to go back to your original question, it's not one size fits all.
Yeah.
Number one is budget. size of organization, type of app, one-stop shop or best of breed. And final maybe consideration, if especially if you don't go with the one-stop shop solution, you're going more with best of breed with multiple products, then if you've got multiple products, they have to talk to each other. And then you got the
Mm-hmm.
whole integration discussion to have. What you go with this CRM, what are the options for the online fundraising system and the accounting system, the email system?
Mm-hmm.
And so rooted software helps with all of this analysis when we do our kind of system assessments. What is your budget, type of org, type of system, integrations, and then you mentioned the implementation, meaning we have to get the stuff out of the old system and stick it in the new system. That is not simple. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
copy paste. It's not just export import. There's mapping. There's different layouts. There's also different business processes, different ways of working, and it is a process that should be taken seriously and given the time and attention it deserves. And so we work with a lot of like highly complex, potentially, for example, moving from 3 source systems to 1 or 2 destination systems with different mapping, with merge purge along the way, with different business rules, and kind of with multiple QA cycles where we're testing it multiple times. And so, yeah, that's a good example of the stuff I learned doing it at Jews for Jesus, putting into practice we've done actually well over 150 of those
Mm-hmm.
kind of migrations now rooted, and a lot more coming too. So,
That-
yeah.
that's great, Toby. So I think if you're listening to this podcast and you have any question about maybe you're facing some technology challenges, maybe you're like, I used to use the analogy of like you're building a house and then you need something else and you add on and add on and add on. Before long, you have this crazy house that you need to really take a 50,000 foot look at. And no matter what you're leaning, I would definitely encourage you to get on the phone with Toby. Toby, you mentioned a couple times a free consultation just to talk through,
Mhm.
be a sounding board for the direction you're headed. That doesn't cost anything but a phone call. Definitely worth it.
Correct.
Toby, you spend a lot of time interacting with ministries and in the technology space. At the same time, you've also got a huge heart for your local area, and you founded a ministry, Hope 680. And just talk to us about that. How did that come about? And yeah, how does that play an important part of who you are?
Yeah. Okay. So this is like a different subject. So winding back again, I was saved. The Lord told me, okay, you belong to me. Go do something. All of a sudden, walking down the street in the city of Oxford, England, I couldn't not look at the homeless guy anymore. I couldn't
Mm,
ignore him. He was a man or a woman created in God's image, and I had something happen to me. Um, I just couldn't ignore him anymore. And I
mm,
used to go out with Jews for Jesus and share the gospel in the street, which I love to do. But one of the first times I did that in London in 2003, I was handing out gospel tracts at, I think, Euston Station or King's Cross in London, and this homeless guy was mocking me for an hour. What are you
mm,
doing? Like, why are you sharing the gospel? No one wants to hear. And after an hour, I turned around and talked to him, and he was like, "I tried Jesus. I tried the Bible."
mm,
And it doesn't make sense for me. I'm just going to stick with this bottle of beer. This is where I get my joy from. And I said, you see all those people with their suits? They're not happy. They're not content because they have suits. The
mm,
contentment and peace that we have only comes through Jesus. And the guy
mm,
was mocking me and it's like, that Bible you're holding, it doesn't make a bit of sense. I'm going to prove it to you. And he snatched it out of my hand and he opened it on a random page and read with a mocking voice the first verse he found, which was, if I so clothe the lilies of the field, how much more will I clothe you, O you of little faith? And it's like, whoa, this is crazy. That actually does make sense. In fact, that's just what you're talking about. That's crazy. Um,
wow.
and then as I was sharing that with him at that exact moment, somebody walked by me, snatched the hat off my head that someone had just given me and ran away. And I just stayed there and it's like, ah. He's
Mm,
like, dude, someone stole your hat. And I was like, I don't care. I'd rather talk to you about Jesus. And he
mm,
was, for me, that was like, I wasn't even thinking about it. For him, that was
mhm,
like crazy. So basically, he asked me, what did he need to do to be saved? I was able to share the gospel with him, lead him in a prayer
mm.
of repentance, and send him off to a
Wow.
rehab center. Now that story has never happened to me again. It was a
Mm,
one-off thing. It was nothing to do with me. It was all the Lord put me in the right place at the right time for that guy.
mhm,
But something did
mhm,
happen to me as a result of that, which was the Lord gave me a heart for the unhoused. Um, So as I lived in the UK in Oxford at the time, I started a little ministry so in England we hand out tea, not so much coffee, and sandwiches, and I would start to do that and tell people about Jesus. So I enjoyed it. I moved to California, got married, and talked to my wife 2010, and I said, I think this is something the Lord's put in my heart, and I'd love to figure out how we can do it together with
Mm,
you. That goes, my wife. And so we were praying about it, and there's a sermon 2010. One of my pastors we want to start mercy ministries here at our church. It's called North Creek Church in Walnut Creek, California. And I'm still there today. And I said, okay, we'll do it. Becca and I will start some homeless ministry. And he
mm,
said, okay, go. So we started a homeless ministry. My wife and I would just buy socks and protein bars and a gospel tract and rubber band them up. And I'd go to San Francisco on my way to Jews for Jesus with that in my pocket and hand it out to people. And then we started to go out regularly once a month with
mm,
a small team in 2010. And I really believed the Lord was just calling us to be faithful. So we kept
mm,
doing that. We continued to do that every single month for 10 years
mm,
and really got to know the homeless people in our area and made it a passion to share the gospel with them. And
mm,
then suddenly, 2020, COVID happened. I was no longer taking the train to San Francisco. I had 15 hours a week that I didn't have before because I was not commuting anymore. And so I prayed and I said, okay, God, you've given me 15 hours a week. What do you want me to do? And I felt the answer was to increase the quality and quantity of the ministry.
mm,
And so I went to the elders of my church and I said, okay, we've done this homeless ministry for 10 years. What if we made it a 501c3 nonprofit, still under your accountability,
mm,
so we can be accountable to you spiritually, but with the opportunity to grow? And they said, they gave me their approval. So formed a nonprofit 2020.
mhm.
We called it Hope 680 because the freeway where I live is called the 680 freeway. And
Okay.
we go literally underneath it and talk to people about Jesus and
Mm,
share the hope of Jesus under the 680 freeway. So hope680.org is our website. You can see our testimonies on there, the people we've been talking to. And so just to cut to the present day, we go out twice a month. We have 5 or 6 teams. Each team has 6 people, so about 30 people going out
mm,
twice a month to 6 cities, 5 or 6 cities, depending on how many teams we have in our area. We share our primary goal is not stuff. We have stuff. We switch from tea to coffee. We have sandwiches that generous people in our church make, and clothing and blankets and Bibles. I mean, we offer stuff to people, but the stuff is just, a way to care for them practically so that we can share the gospel with them and pray for them.
mhm,
And the Lord also provided some RVs that we use for Bible studies. And
mm,
so we use those to say, okay, we shared the gospel with you a couple of times. We prayed for you. We've got to know you. We gave you a Bible. Now we want to get a little bit deeper. We've scattered the seed.
mm,
Now we want to maybe water the plant, put some manure in it and take care of it a little bit. Let's do a Bible study in the RV together.
mm,
And so we've been doing that now for I think 2 or 3 years. And so just really seeing the Lord's faithfulness and kindness and
mhm,
mercy. We've got an office, we've got 2 trucks we use, and so
mm,
just the Lord. I've never lacked everything. If I pray for t-shirts, they appear on my doorstep. If I pray for granola bars, somebody drops them off. A couple of times
mm,
I've said, "Do you really want me to do this, Lord?" And then there's a knock on the door within 2 days, and someone says, "I just was praying about you, and I wanted to give you this check or
mm,
this." So yeah, the Lord has really been blessing it, and so when I'm not running rooted software, I do run Hope 680 with a faithful board of directors. My wife helps me with that, and it gives me a lot of joy, and my wife a lot of joy to be able to serve the Lord that way. And our kids also have been part of this
mm.
ministry their whole life, and they come out with us. So yeah, really, it's really a fun family ministry.
You really are putting hands and feet to the gospel, and not just doing it, but modeling it for your kids. And you and I have talked a lot about the importance of our families and the importance of walking the walk with our kids. And um, yeah, that's tremendous, tremendous, Toby. So I'm curious, how has the ministry of Hope 680, like how is the lessons that you learned there? Has there anything that's translated on how you lead rooted?
Um, Number one is trusting in Jesus. He always
Mm,
provides. You run a
yeah.
business. There's challenging times. People come, people go, and customers come and customers go. And there's times that I have to pray and trust the Lord. And He has always been faithful. As long as I am dealing with my sin, dealing with my pride, dealing with my greed, dealing with my
Yeah.
challenges, and submitting it to Him. And so the
Yeah.
more I have been able to do that, submit it to Him. It's all yours, Lord. You can make it small, you can make it big, because it belongs to you, not to me. Then I've
Hmm.
seen Him to be faithful. I've seen Him to answer prayer. I've seen Him to provide. And I would say that's just as true for Rooted as it has been for Hope 680, that we have seen the Lord's goodness and faithfulness and provision, often in completely unexpected ways.
Hmm.
But all the things that, surprises come, the Lord works it all for good. So that's the most important lesson, to trust Him for it. And then obviously all the lessons I've learned for CRMs and systems and things has made Hope 680 a very, very efficient organization when it comes to
Hmm.
technology. And so that's kind of a side benefit, I would say, having systems that just work together well. And
Yeah. So you can
knowing,
actually bring,
you know,
even for the smaller ministries, you're able to bring like this is what we do personally. So you can bring um,
mm,
I mean, very personal experience to that conversation.
yes, yeah. And if there's any small ministries listening to this that maybe you can't afford a lot of stuff, well, I'm happy to have a free call with you too, and kind of tell
Yeah.
you how I run Hope 680 while also running a business. And on a side note, I also work part-time for my church, kind of help as a local outreach coordinator, helping them grow the evangelism of the church. So, you
Okay.
know, definitely I need to rely on technology to be efficient in what I do. It's very important.
Yeah. Yeah. This has been a fantastic conversation, Toby. Just hearing your a little bit of your faith journey, a little bit of your journey, how you got into technology and how you followed the Lord into serving foreign ministry and then serving a couple hundred ministries over the past few years. Just for you, where you're at right now, like what is one book or blog or resource that you've read recently that you can share with the audience?
Sure. Um, in Obviously, I've been thinking about the ministry side, the work side. There's a lot of things going around my head. So on the Hope 680 side of the equation, I've actually been reading a lot about addiction ministry,
Hmm.
how to minister to the addict, because there's a lot. There's a book that recently came out called Addiction in the Local Church.
Hmm.
Um, Two Scottish guys. I'm not remembering their names. I think one of them's called Andy, but I could share it later. But yeah, Addiction in the Local Church. It's a black
Okay.
cover with yellow text. Definitely recommend that. There's another guy called Mark Shaw. He runs a ministry called The Addiction Connection, and
Hmm.
I've read pretty much all of his books. He's got his main one is called The Heart of Addiction by Mark E. Shaw. A lot of other books. On the work side, I probably have read every book by Patrick Lencioni. I really do
Hmm.
enjoy his books. The five dysfunctions of an unhealthy team, things like that. He
Do
wrote,
you
he,
do you use
he,
their assessment? Do you use Lencioni's assessment in any way inside your
yes,
team?
we
Working
found it very
Genius.
helpful.
Okay.
We do use
Yeah.
that. And from
Yeah.
the very beginning of the company, reading his books and really just following his advice, especially when it comes to culture. Like he
Yeah.
really believes that you have to have a healthy organization to be a fruitful organization, and that starts with the people and the kind of people you have in the company, and the culture you build as a leader. And so we've been following that from the very, very beginning, and his creating clarity process
Hmm.
to define what's going on right now, what's most important right now, what's our mission statement, and how do we communicate that, what's our way of conducting ourselves, our core values. And so, yeah, our core values are fidelity, compassion, and intentionality. And there's more about
Hmm.
that on my I could talk about. But yeah, just his writing has been very, very helpful to me on the business side for sure.
That's great. That's good. So, Toby, how can people best contact you?
My email address is toby@rooted.software. No .com,
Okay.
just toby@rooted.software. If you go to my website, rooted.software, there's a big button at the top, schedule a meeting, that actually is connected to my calendar. You can
Hmm.
schedule a meeting with me. I would be happy to chat with you personally, anytime. No obligation. Just contact me. Happy to chat with a ministry leader. As someone serving in a ministry and you just have questions about technology, happy to talk to you about other things too. So yeah, toby@rooted.software, but I'd be very, very happy to meet anyone that's listening to this.
That's great. Well, Toby, thanks so much for sharing. First, for sharing your expertise with the Kingdom Ministry at large, and then just for sharing on the podcast. Really, really value. Just to let our audience know, we will link to everything that Toby mentioned in terms of resources. We'll link to those in the show notes. You can find those there. So, Toby, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Chad. I've valued our partnership, value and respect you very, very highly. And I deeply appreciate you having me here today. So thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Ministry at Scale podcast. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep impacting your world for Christ.